Welcome to Extreme Web Design. My,
Well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whichever applies to you, and welcome to the Get Being Your Own Success Circle. Boy, this is too tight for me. I need to think faster. um, we get together because we enjoy each other's company. We like working together and sharing discoveries. We've made a few discoveries just recently, and some of us actually do a little business together, and it's nice to have everybody here. And what are we going to talk about this morning? We are going to talk about reducing the image file size for online. So we usually begin by doing some introductions. So Sarah, you were here first. So how would you like to go first?
Sure. Good morning, everyone. I'm Sarah from Piece of Cake Communications in Victoria, BC. It's pretty chilly here in Victoria today, which is very upsetting because it was so nice on the weekend, and I changed my winter clothes to my summer clothes, and now I have to change them back apparently. So I look forward to this presentation today because this is a topic I know nothing about. So I'll be enlightened. Thank you.
Right on. And Vivek, how would you like to introduce yourself?
Namaste. My name is Vivekanand. I am proud to share my belief with Steve Jobs and Leonardo da Vinci, who said simplicity is the ultimate in sophistication. I aim to bring time-tested wisdom and happiness together into your business and life by unifying, simplifying, and amplifying simple technology and tools. Wake Technology is my company. Together, let us wake up our potential. That's my intro. I am in Reading, United Kingdom, England. The weather here is today, it has been quite nice. I would say supposed to be spring, but it feels more like autumn. It's still cold.
Yeah. Wow. Well, thank you. And David, I'm going to leave you to the last, if that's okay with you. So, Fred, how would you like to introduce yourself?
Thank you, LowellAnn. I'm Fred Jones, the creator of Our Future Leaders, where I assist other people to help young people to become the leaders that our world needs with good communication and leadership skills. I'm located on my friend's boat still in Ladysmith, which is about 90 kilometers north on Vancouver Island, of where Sarah and LowellAnn are. As Sarah said, it's been chilly today. It's about 10 degrees now, going up to about 14, compared to it was over 20 the last few days over the weekend. And it'll go back up apparently later in the week. So Sarah's going to have to grab her summer clothes again. So she's going to, who knows? But otherwise, I look forward to today as always.
Mm-hmm. Right on.
Thanks, LowellAnn.
And well, I might introduce myself. You can see I have a different screen up today, and I left it there because we have been. You were maybe wondering why I was so discombobulated when we started. We had a meeting of the beta testers for the Of course, which is on the website for courses. So I had about 10 minutes in order time to get myself set up so we could do this. Anyway, it was sure nice to get some feedback from
You really did a good job single-handedly. Single-handedly, I stress.
Well, Do you know what? If I didn't have a checklist, written down checklist, that when you're in a hurry or you're thinking about something else or whatever, you can just go back to that checklist and follow it, and you're good to go. So that was important to do. So, David, I don't know if you want to introduce yourself now, or do you want to wait? Oh, there's Alana. Maybe we should just wait and let her introduce herself. So I might say, just while we wait for Alana to get sorted there, by way of introduction to our topic this morning, we have talked over the last few weeks about Google's new algorithm and all of the things that we need to pay attention to on our websites. And one of the major things was the load speed, and the fact that a lot of our images on our websites are way too large and load too slowly. So David offered to give us a presentation on his technique, and I know he uses about 3 different items to do what he needs to do. But before we get there, Alana, do you want to introduce yourself?
Hi everybody, Alana here, coming to you from Ireland. My company's ALB Digital Marketing Solutions. I write copy for small and medium businesses. 5 o'clock today. It's going to be lashing rain in a few seconds. So, and just if I get cut off, it means we lost power because we've been losing power. We've been having very strange storms and that cut out power. So if I disappear, that's why.
Okay, we'll keep our fingers crossed. Right on. So, this whole thing about Google's new algorithm. I actually watched another video this morning, very early, where another company was outlining all the things that we need to pay attention to. So, David, I'm so happy that you are willing to share with us your technique. So go for it.
Okay, can I introduce myself?
Yes, please.
Okay, I'm Dave Flannery with Affordable Websites for Small Businesses. I'm here in Rock Falls where it's currently raining, and it's going to be raining all day. They said 100% chance of rain today. So the ducks and geese are all happy.
Oh.
And the plants, because we've been a little bit dry. So it's about 64 degrees outside Fahrenheit. A little bit cool. Anyway, I'm ready to start my presentation, and if I could share my screen, I'd greatly appreciate it.
Yeah, not a problem.
Okay, reducing image file size for online. Google, what I'm going to cover today is why we want to reduce our images, my process of how I do it, the software I use, and a sample of how I do it, so that we have a recording of, so if you want to go back and follow my steps, you'll be able to do that. Here again, we had this discussion a little while ago. Google has moved the cheese again. They have put more importance on your loading speed on your website. So one of the major components to how fast your website loads is how large your file size, your image sizes are, and it's becoming very important. The other thing that that they're looking at is how fast the first thing that paints, which is usually your largest image in your above the fold. And if that's large, even though you've got to compress, it takes a little bit of time to load. You can get dinged. So that's another thing. Hero images might be coming by the wayside, where you take the full screen and you load this really large file, or this really large picture, and it takes more time to load. And if you can go with a smaller picture, then it does.
Mhm.
So that's why we're going through this process. The other reason we want to do this is because it improves the experience for our visitors. Visitors usually don't like anything that loads over 2 seconds. So if your website is loading above 2 seconds, you need to address that. They also like crisp and high quality photos. They want to be able to, they don't want to see a blurry photo or a pixelated photo. They want to see a crisp one. So I try to use a method that gives us both of those qualities. I use a two-step method. I've dropped it down to 2, LowellAnn.
Good.
I no longer have 3. I no longer use Photoshop. And sometimes it's a 1-step method. The first step that I use, if needed, is I crop the photo to the proportions that I want. Like 16 by 9, square, etc. 1080 by 720. But it may be a larger format, and I won't change that when I crop it. It'll just be that same format, but it will be in a proportion of 1080 by 720. Then I compress the file. And that's when I reduce the size of the file too, if I want to reduce it. If I want to change it from 1920 by 1280 to 1080 by 720, I do it when I do the compressing of the files. The software that I use is GIMP and Casium. I have a plugin that I use on the website too. It's called Smush. That's a paid one, but these 2 software are free. So you don't have to break the bank in order to accomplish this. And I use Smush Pro. You can find other image compression plugins for your website for WordPress, and they're free. What's the one that Wealthy uses? Is it Kraken or something like that?
Kraken. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Kraken. So you can get them for free. GIMP, I like to use for my cropping. It allows me full control of what I'm doing. I can put in, if I have a photo that's 1500 by 800, and I can crop it down to 1473 by 980 or whatever I want. I can crop it down. I can actually put the numbers in that I want to use instead of it being guess or by golly, or like when you use Photoshop, they tend to want to reduce the size of your photo. This is still you're just cropping out the edges, and the actual numbers of pixels stay the same. It doesn't change the size of the photo. So that's why I use GIMP. Oops, too far. Casium, I use it because it reduces the file size from 80 to 95%, which is a great reduction. I mean, it does a very good job. And you get good quality photos on the website.
So is Casium an online program, or is it is it a plug-in? What is it exactly?
It's a program that you load on your desktop, on your laptop or whatever, and it's part of. It's like Note++. It's just a program that's on your computer,
right?
And
As is
It
as
resides.
is GIMP.
It's not a web-based and
Right.
whatnot. And once you have it, and you don't have to. I mean, it comes through with updates once in a while, but you don't
Mhm.
have to update it if you don't want to. So you don't have to buy it. Any other questions on Casium?
No, I knew that GIMP was a downloadable program. I just didn't know
Correct.
what it was. Yeah. Okay.
And then I use a plugin called Smush Pro. I like it. It not only it further reduces the file size by 15 to 30% more.
Wow.
It also uses a lazy load to load your photos, and that allows you to when your website loads, it loads what it needs rather than everything at once. So it doesn't take. If you got a first page that's you got to scroll forever to get to the bottom of it. It doesn't load the bottom of it until you need to get to it.
Until you get there.
So it
Mhm.
it helps out with that, and that in Google eyes speeds things up.
So David,
Okay.
when you're doing this, you use GIMP and Casium, and you use all three, or do you just use
Well-
GIMP and then go to Smoosh?
Well, I use GIMP. If I don't use GIMP, it's because the photo's already the right size. I always use Casium.
Okay.
Okay. If the photo is in the right proportion, I'll let Casium shrink it down to whatever size I want it to, and then Smush is just on as a plugin, and I don't have to do anything to it.
Okay.
It just, when I upload a file, it automatically compresses it, and the lazy load is part of the
Okay.
the website, and I don't have to do anything to it outside of the first initial setup. So anyway,
Okay. The problem that I see, or that I experience, is I never know what size I should be aiming for.
well, there's standard sizes. 1080
Mm-hmm.
by 720 is a standard size, and if you go up to the next proportion, that's 12 or 1920 by 1280, and you can go up from there. Those are the pretty much standard.
Mm-hmm.
I forget what the size is for lower. That's a picture that looks like this house.
Right.
It's a nice rectangular picture. If you're using a hero image, I go 1080, and let's say I would go like that, and then I would that's 780 by 2000. Okay. And
Okay,
this
now
picture,
slow down a little bit, because not everybody understands GIMP. So up at the top, you have the crop button clicked,
correct,
crop tool.
and it brings out this information.
Right.
And then I can crop a little box like that, and over here on the side, it tells me what size that crop is.
Where?
So,
Where on what side? Oh, down there.
right here.
Yeah, the size. Got it.
Okay. And let's say I know that the width of the picture is 2000, so I want to go. Oops. I'll do a control. Oh, I zoomed in a little too much. Sorry. Generally, I'll start here, and I know that the width is good. Oh wait, 2000. No, it's the other way. Okay, so I'm going to take and go down here. I know that I have 1340.
Right.
So I get my calculator here. I know that that I want to go 1080 by 720 is my final dimension.
Mm-hmm.
So I take and I know that my height is the correct dimension. So I will take 1080 and divide it by 720. Okay, that's 1.5.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, now I know that I'm going to be using 1314 as my final height crop.
Mm-hmm.
So I multiply that by 1314, and it comes out to be 1971. So then I put 1971 in here, and it gives me my outline of my crop. Can you see that okay?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
If I want to move it a little bit, I can move it, and then I just click on it, and it crops it. You can see the original size in the dotted lines, and this wasn't much of a change. But sometimes I'll get a picture that's real long, and I want to crop it to 1080. Or I get one it's a square and I want to crop it to 1080 by 720. And so you can get all sorts of things. But what's really nice is I can actually control my cropping
exact size, yeah.
with the exact size, so that I get what I want. And when I go with Photoshop, you put in 1080 by 720. When you crop it, it shrinks it down, and then that causes pixelation, or more pixelation. There's always pixelation when you have a photo. So anyway, the next thing I do is I go to File, and I export, and I'm just using the file name that I did the experiment with it and made sure everything was working right. So I'm gonna overwrite it, and it's gonna replace. Okay.
Yeah. So it's not a save. It's an export as.
It is an export as. If in GIMP, if you save it in a GIMP format, not a JPEG format.
Right.
Okay. So now we're done with this program. Next one we're going to use is Casium. The first thing that I do is when I open it up, this always defaults to 80. And I prefer using 40 or 50, and I'm going to go with 50 on this.
Is that a percentage?
That's a percentage. That's the quality percentage.
Okay.
So I'm going to keep the quality at 50%. If you go to 100, it doesn't reduce it. If you go to 80, you get very little reduction. So I'm going with that. This is where you reduce your size. You click this button here, and then you type in the size that you want. Now I already have 1080 here and 720. Okay. Oh, the last thing I need to do is I need to make sure that I go to the file that I want. So I'm going to go to this drive here. This is just a bunch of LowellAnn laughs at me because I have to click so many times to get where I want to go.
I have to tell you all, I would not know much about GIMP if it weren't for David. He has walked me through GIMP. I couldn't tell you how many times, as has Vivek.
Thank you. I put it in a file. I call it compressed. It's how to compress photos and compress. And then I select that file. So now I know where the file is going to go. So the next thing I need to do is, this is the file that I saved in GIMP. So I'm going to drag and drop it right on top.
Oh.
Okay. So then, oh, that's not the right one. It's already at 1080. Where did it go? Let's see, where's my folder again? you. There you are.
The last one. Oh, it says it's already 1080 by 720.
Well, this is what I do when I can't find what I lost where I was at. We'll go back here and we'll go back to export, and it'll tell me where I was at. That was LowellAnn, how to compress files.
GIMP.
GIMP, okay. So what was I naming it? With the miss.
There it is at the top.
There it is, right at the top.
Yeah.
I didn't want to open it. I wanted to drag it. Okay. So it's the dimensions that I changed it to. Then I have to hit apply. So now that's going to be the final size of the folder of it.
Where hang on, where was apply? I didn't see where you were.
I went down here to the bottom and it says
there.
apply.
Okay, got it.
Then you go and you hit your compress button here, and it tells you what we did. It took the file from 3,800 approximately and made it 114 kilobytes. So that's quite a reduction. 98% reduction in size.
Yeah.
Okay. So that would be in compressed, which this is the photo right here. And this is how it looks on the when you just open it up.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, what is this? Photos, and that's how it looks on there. It looks pretty good. When you zoom in, it's got a little bit, but it's not bad for pixelation, considering we've dropped it down to 98%. So the next thing we do is, do I still have that open? That's in there. Oh, excuse me for a second.
Most of us are used to this back end because this is Wealthy Affiliates back end. Yeah. Okay, there you are. There you are in your back end.
Yes, now I'm on the front end, and I've already uploaded this picture. This is the picture that was made with Casium.
Mm-hmm.
And this is a picture that I compressed with using Photoshop.
Oh,
and
it says
really
GIMP. It says GIMP underneath.
Well, it's GIMP cropped. It was cropped with GIMP.
Right.
And it was compressed with Photoshop.
Oh, I see.
Okay. This was also cropped with GIMP, but it's Casium. I needed something to be able to tell which photo it was because they look exactly the same by the media library.
Right, right.
So
I don't really see any difference.
No. And if you go, that's as close. I mean, it's not enlarging the pictures. I don't know why it's not. It's supposed to, but here we go. You really can't see any difference.
No.
But
Now, where
back
are you
on here.
now? You're
I'm in the back end. I'm going to
Yeah.
go to the media library.
right, and load it up.
Okay. Well, I've already loaded them up. I'm looking at them in
Oh.
the media library.
Yeah.
This is the
okay.
one that was done by Photoshop.
Right.
Okay. Its size, when I was compressed, it only reduced it to 289 kilobytes.
Mm-hmm.
Smush reduced it down to 112. This is the one that was done by Casium.
Mm-hmm.
And it started out at 98 and was reduced to 42.
Wow.
So you can see that you've got a quite a bit of difference between the sizes. Is it going to send Google into a frenzy? No, but it's going to every inch you can make towards getting a better result is better for Google and for your users. I mean, I got the same quality photo and I've reduced the size, the load time, and reduced the size of the photo. So that's why I use this method. Are there any questions?
Well, if nobody else does, I have a dozen.
Okay.
Okay. We some of us all have websites with a whole bunch of images. So in my mind, I need to think through, what do I need to do to make that website compliant. So I know that I could go into the media folder in the back end of my website, and I guess the step would be to look and see what the size is, right?
Check your sizes.
Yeah.
And it's easier to do it in the list view in the media library than it for checking sizes and that kind of information
Right.
than it is to do in the grid format.
Mm-hmm. Right. So you're not
So-
looking at the picture; you're just looking at the title and this and
Right.
all the sizes and so forth. Yeah.
So
So then,
I would
then you would need to go out and follow this process that you were wherever you have them saved on your own computer, and then you would have to go through the process that you just outlined, and then label them properly and save them somewhere, and how would you do that in media? Would you just get rid of the one that's there?
how I would do it is I would go to the front end or to the page. I would click on the photo, go to it and replace it. Go to replace it. I mean, you probably need to delete it first and then
Yeah.
go to media library.
Yeah.
This is important. I have found that sometimes WordPress keeps files when you delete, even though you've deleted it permanently. And if you don't rename the file just even by one letter, it will bring the old file back up.
Aha.
So you need to make sure that when you delete it, that you also that you change your name.
Change the name of it.
Yeah,
so
I
that-
add an A at the end or 1 at the end or compressed or COMP or something that tells you that it's a new, and that
Yeah.
tells WordPress it's a new file.
Mhm.
The first thing I would do before I went through all of that work is I would take something like Smush and I would put that, before I installed it, I'd go through my files and get a good idea what sizes my files are. Then I would take Smush and compress it first and see where I'm at. If your photo is below 150 kilobytes, I wouldn't mess with it. I wouldn't. You could and get it lower. I'm not saying you couldn't, but for the amount of time you're spending, it may not be worth it. Gets above 150, then I would go through and change it.
Mhm.
That's my opinion. You could ask Jay, and Jay may say don't do it for 350, or he may say don't do it at 50. I'm not the expert, but that's where I feel comfortable with myself, and that's where if I have an old site, which I do, that's what I'm doing with it, is just putting smush on it, or an optimizing plug-in, smashing them down, and then see where I'm at.
Okay, you said Smush. Is that a premium plugin?
Yes, it is. That's why I said it's paid for. And if you wanted to try Kraken, I keep picturing this big old octopus pulling down a ship from
So Kraken
Pirates
is,
of the Caribbean.
yeah, Kraken is on all of our WP websites already.
Right. Smush comes with the suite that I bought, so I use it.
Right.
Okay. I have nothing against Kraken, but I paid for something. I'm going to use it. Right, wrong, or indifferent. I'm going to use it no matter what. So that's why
I mean, this is a lot of work.
Well, that's why I said if the first thing you want to do is just get that plug in and put it in, because that's not a lot of work. Then you might find that you only need to do 10 in your whole list. You may only have 10 photos to do out of 100. Okay, if you're lucky. If you were doing compression or doing, using good sense on your photos, you might get lucky, and they all, most of them will drop down below that 150 level, and you only have, some that are real large. I mean, if you use them, where you run into trouble is you take a very large photo, like a 5,000 by 3,000 photo, and you reduce it down onto your website so it's on a 400. It's shown as a 400 pixel photo. That you don't want to do, because what ends up happening is that it loads that huge file and then shrinks it down.
Right.
Whereas if you make it the correct size for what you're doing, if you make it a 400 pixel photo, and you put it on your website as a 400 pixel photo, the speed greatly increases on how long it takes to load.
So it's not hard to visualize. Like if that was a huge huge file, even if you reduce the size, and then you try to load that on your cell phone, you can just visualize how long it would take to load.
Correct. Yeah.
That's the reason behind all of this is how long it takes. Yeah. Alana
has a question.
Yeah. So are you saying that because of the new algorithm, we have to go through our site and look at each individual image and shrink it down to make sure that? Please tell me that. Please tell me now.
Well, depends on how old your site is. I mean, I've been compressing these photos this very close to this way for the last 3 years.
And I haven't done any
years
of them.
ago till now.
Yeah.
I really don't have to mess with anything I made prior to 3 years from now. I have to go back and look at and fix.
Wow.
And here again, I'm gonna use Smush. I'm going to look at it and see what I did. I mean, I know I've got some where I've taken the photo, and took a large photo and then shrunk it down in to make it fit 400, wide. And I remember doing this, so I know that I've got some photos that I have to take out, compress them, get them down to size, and get them down to the 400 size, and go from there.
Is there a plugin that can do the same thing, that will automatically compress your photos? I thought there had been, You,
Well, that's what
oh, wait.
that's what the Crack and the Smush Pro do.
Okay, because yeah, maybe that's what I'm thinking of, because I seem to recall there was a plugin that automatically compresses your photos when you upload them to the media library.
Yeah, and they do.
Yeah.
This way it compresses it even more.
Okay.
Okay. This is, if I was doing if I had 30 websites or 20 websites that I had to do, my first operation would be put the compression plugin in, see where I'm at, fix anything that I need to fix that's above 150. I may even go to 300, depending on how many I've got to do. And I'm trying to get down to 10, 15 photos or less than that to repair, then move on to the next site. Once I start building again and I'm doing a new site, I would use this method.
Every time. Yeah.
I would use it every time, and that's what I've been doing. I was doing it a little bit different before. I was going and cropping it with GIMP, reducing the size with Photoshop, then using Casium to
Compress.
compress it. And then I put the photo up there, and then some of them I didn't use an image optimizer, some of them I did. And so I need to go back to some of my websites and put the image optimizer in there, and then that's an easy fix.
So David, and Vivek, I see you there. When you say 150 to 300, what do you mean?
Kilobytes.
Kilobytes, no higher than 300?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Let me show you what I mean.
KB.
This here, if this is the final output here on this is
Are you sharing your screen?
No. It helps if I push the share button.
Where?
If you're if this size here is greater than, I would like to keep it below 150.
Right. Okay.
Okay. If I can get it, if I've got 40 photos and they're at 150 to 300, I'm going to let those go.
Okay.
If I've got
so it says
5 photos that,
It says reduced by, and then it says image size. So which one are we looking at? Are we
looking at the image size? I'm sorry.
Yeah, the image size. So
yeah, so it
that
would be
one
this
is
one here.
under 300. So that's one that you wouldn't necessarily do much with.
Right.
Although the one below is much better because it's only 98. Yeah. Okay.
Correct. Now, if I have 1 or 2 photos, I'm gonna fix them.
Right.
If I have 40 photos, it's not gonna be worth the time to fix them.
Right.
If you know what I mean.
Yeah.
It isn't.
Wow.
The other thing, it doesn't tell me it here. The other thing I want to look at is this.
Yeah.
Is that the size I'm actually using on the website?
Right.
If I'm using a 400 by whatever that ratio comes out, then I really want to think about changing this photo to a 400 by whatever the ratio is.
Changing the dimensions. Yeah.
Changing the dimensions of the photo.
Yeah.
Either by cropping and or when I use Casium, let me get that back up. When I use Casium, I would change it here.
Oh yeah.
Okay, you can change it there when it's being compressed.
Resize. Yeah. Okay. Right. Oh dear, I just dread going and looking. Okay, Vivek, you have your hand up.
Yeah, I was. It was a answer to what Alana was asking. She was asking whether to look at each page or things like that. I'm saying it's better to use the Google's tool, the tool that Google provides, which actually tells you what you need to do for each page. So I put the link in the chat here, and that tells you, that actually gives you good idea of what you need to do. Let me show you briefly here. If I can share the screen.
Yes, please.
So I have put, this is the tool,
Mm-hmm.
Page Speed Insights. I put the home page or website for courses, and it says, see here, if you look at this, first look at this, it's actually showing you the speed on the mobile.
Right.
It says it is ranked 26 out of 100. It gets only 26 marks out of 100. And the problems are, the first contentful paint, 2.9 seconds. That is in the yellow range.
Right.
Speed index, it says 11.8 seconds, which is red.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then it goes on to tell you what are the opportunities where you can directly affect the performance. So it says, it gives you all these things, and these are the things that take up a lot of time. So
Yes.
if there
Well,
are, if there was,
they're also complicated.
Yeah.
but then if the image shows up as a red one there, then you certainly need to take care of the image. In case of this page, image is not showing up. It's all JavaScript and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Which we need to probably look into our theme that we have used and so on. So, but if the image is taking up too much time, it certainly will.
It will
show
tell
up
you
here.
that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So you can key in individual pages there.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if it is there or not, but
I think Jay gave some of us href. We'll do the same thing for you. Yeah.
but what probably Jay was showing was a premium product. You have to pay for it. This is free.
Yeah.
So about us page, it is showing you a different picture. So
See, for the average blogger or anyone with a website that isn't a developer, looking at this, they're not going to understand things like eliminate render blocking resources
Yeah.
and JavaScript and that sort of thing.
yeah, agreed.
I have attempted a couple times to fix those problems, and it is not easy. It's not. It's not.
Well, I
does
installed a
give you-
plugin recently that seemed to help a lot, but I don't
Yeah,
remember the name of it now. I'd
it
have to
does
go out to
give
my
you
site and find
explanation
it.
of what it means if you click on that, each of them.
Yeah, it does. And then you do Google search, and you do YouTube search, and you find them, and they're asking you to do things that really, really are complicated.
That,
And
Yeah.
you make the wrong move, you got your website in a big shambles.
that you
And give a pint of blood first.
that really scare you.
Yes. And I don't scare easy. I'm sorry. I don't. But there's some of the stuff I go, not me. I have to hire someone to do that.
See, I think what's going to put people off is that anyone who has problems with on their website with image sizes or slow load speed or anything like that, they're not going to have a background in web development, and their main objective for their website is not going to be to fix this type of stuff. So they're either going to have to hire somebody or look for some way to, or live with the fact that it doesn't load fast enough for them and take the hit from Google, thank you very much.
Yeah.
Because, you know, most people are not going to be able to fix these issues outside of the image size issue, unfortunately.
Yeah, but what I'm showing you is if there is a penalty, this tool shows you where the penalty is coming from. Why are they penalizing you? What's the reason? So
Yeah, and
you can try to solve it. If you can't, then yeah, we have to live with it. But
it really, can you share your screen again, Vivek?
yeah.
See where it says 77?
Mm-hmm.
If you've
That's
got
the speed on
98,
desktop.
that's a desktop. If you've got 98 there and you've got something in red, ignore it.
Yeah.
Now go to your mobile.
Mobile is very low, 25.
That's at 25. If you're at 25, you need to address some problems and get that fixed so that it works. And one of these days I'll get this figured out and how to fix some of these problems. And believe me, I'll be telling you guys how to do it. Or maybe offering my services at a very reduced price.
Yeah, that's
depending on what it is.
Exactly.
Okay, there are.
I will pay people who, you know, other people will pay full price, but
Yeah.
you know, you just it's not easy, and I've spent probably close to 25, 30 hours trying to figure this out and have gotten pretty much nowhere.
Okay.
But we'll get the BYO CEO website discount, right?
Yeah.
So
That's exactly right. Yes.
we have some comments from Javita. She's with us this morning on in YouTube. She says Kraken is default in WA. Do we still need to compress files for our blogs? That was one question, and I think you sort of answered that, David, just by going in and looking to see the sizes. Then she asked, what is the difference between scaling and compressing?
Okay, scaling is actually taking the size of the photo and changing
the dimension.
Back to where I can show things.
Changing the dimension, right?
Let me see here. I'm going to share my screen again.
Mm-hmm.
And I clicked the button this time. Scaling changes this dimension of the photo.
Okay.
It either makes it smaller or larger.
Mm-hmm.
Compressing, let me see, does it show it here? Yeah, it changes the file size, how many kilobytes it is. You can have a photo that's 1070 or 1080 by 720 and be, 98 kilobytes. And you can have a photo that's 1080 by 720 and it be 10,000 kilobytes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And the 10,000 kilobyte is going to load slower than the 98 kilobyte.
Right.
Now, you have to remember, the smaller you make it, you're compressing, you're making it so that there are less pixels available.
Mm-hmm.
So as you make it smaller and smaller and smaller, it gets to a point where it's just a bunch of pixels and you can't really see a picture.
Right. Okay. So and I guess the next question would be, if you wanted to change the dimensions, what do? You got to go over to GIMP and change the dimensions.
Find the picture. Two ways of doing that. One is by cropping,
right, which
you take here and you make it smaller. If I press enter, I'm gonna get it down to 725 by 606. So that's what size that is.
Right.
Hit Control Z, or I can also go to image and scale image, and I can scale it to 1080. And this is what you use for scaling to try and keep it as close to the original.
Oh yeah.
It's low
Halo.
halo.
Yeah.
Okay. So it makes it smaller.
Ah, I didn't know how to do that before.
Yeah. And
Okay.
okay, so now the image size is 1080 by 720 instead of what it was,
Okay.
which it was 1971 by 1314.
Right. Okay. Now, one of the things that Jay showed us, and I've watched so much of Jay's work, I can't honestly tell you where I saw it anymore. But he talked about not using featured image anymore, which is what you meant when you said the hero, like a big banner across.
Well,
And so now what it looked like he was doing was just simply not using a featured image, but just doing putting in that picture into the body of the blog. Is what
Okay.
he was showing.
on your pages or on your posts and your pages, you have the ability to put in a featured image, so that like when you run a blog roll on your site, it shows this image that appears, and then an excerpt of your content, so that you can show all your blogs and all that good stuff. And that's what the featured image basically does. But that featured image ends up being a large image. It usually is pretty large. So what Jay has done is discontinued using the featured image and putting it down lower, right next to the title.
Yeah.
Okay, which gives him a smaller footprint, which is going to load his page a lot faster, especially on mobile.
Yeah.
Okay. A hero image is different. A hero image is generally a background image that you put in the background. Have instead of it being a color, you select an image, and that usually goes completely across the face of the page, and either ends just below the screen, or it goes past.
Right.
And those are large images. And what they're saying to do is that what's going to be happening is, in order for things to load faster, is to not have that large image on your screen, have it as a I got an example.
Dave, can I jump in and ask a quick question while you get there?
Yeah.
So if you're saying that, the recommendation now is per Jay is to no longer use the featured image, and you said if you just put an image just below the title in a blog post, if you have a blog roll, will the image still appear or will it not?
It will not.
That's right.
It will not. Okay, so because it's not featured any longer.
Now you could have two options. You could have the featured image and click it to not show in your post.
Okay.
And then it would still appear as your blog roll.
Right.
You see what I mean?
I do, yeah.
Okay. And if you want it in your blog roll, that's what you could do. The other thing you can do is make sure you use a small featured image. Most of them are graphic oriented, so you don't have to have a large image. You can get them down small fairly easily. So
okay, thanks.
I'm going to share my screen to show you what I just did with this site. This was done, I don't want to say by accident. This was done at the request of the Connie, who owns this website. She did not want a full image across the screen. She wanted an image like this that was, smaller and work. So this one's more like what Jay is doing.
Yeah.
Instead of putting a featured image and then putting this text over the top of it, not feature, a hero image, and putting this text over the top of it, we've made it smaller, and then put our information right there.
So that block. What is that? That's not a sidebar.
No, that's just a grid in generate block.
And then you
I
just
have
put
two
your
columns.
text in, right?
Yeah.
Right.
And then you can see we go,
Yeah.
basically full screen here.
Yeah.
We got our
Right.
testimonials, we got our services, and then our call to action.
Right. Okay. Right on. Yeah. So it to some degree it may mean that we'll have to redesign some of our pages.
Yeah. And there again, it comes to, how important is it? If it's a very important website, you need to look at doing some of this stuff. If it's one that's more like what Fred's doing, and it doesn't matter if it's in the search engine, then you can have it however you want. You can have full-size images there, and it'll take 20 seconds to load. But
You mean if you don't want to show up in search?
in the search,
Right.
yeah, in the search engines.
Right. Yeah. Wow. Any other questions, folks? God, we could go on and on here forever, but we are at the top of the hour, so any other questions? Fred, do you have a last word?
Yeah, I hope you can hear me because I keep getting internet messages. So I always have a last word. Once again, I appreciate hearing about a man who does lots of websites tell us how complicated it can get and even scary. He uses the word, it's scary sometimes. And it is for some average person like me who has 3 websites and I don't do any of this. I don't do SEO. I don't optimize my images. I don't care about it at the moment. However, there are times when you should care about it. And it's very important to bring up these topics. And all I can say is I'm glad you record these and you post them on your website so that whenever I'm looking to optimize my images, I can go here and find some of the information and go along that path. Although I think once again it comes down to you can hire somebody to help you if it becomes rather than having to learn all this yourself. So it's a great educational tool. That's why I love coming here, because I learn about all this and I know, well, that's not something I'm going to spend my time doing. I have other things to spend my time, but it is a relevant factor, and this is definitely something. I look at my images often and I say, yeah, I downsize them I just use Paint. I just go to Paint and on my, and I downsize it, but I'm certainly not scientific about it. So there's some numbers here that are thrown around, why is 1080 times 720, or is that more important, and so on. So we didn't go into those details, but there's reasons for that as well. So how it shows. And again, it comes mobile. The fact that more and more people are looking at mobile, you got to be aware, especially on mobile, how long it takes. So, but anyway, thanks a lot. I really appreciate you covering another interesting topic.
Yeah. Well, I think some of us do care about being found. So I know for myself, I need to know how to do all of this. So I'm interested. But I must admit, I'll be going back and looking at all the, when the calculator came up and did all of that, I'll be going back to see how that worked. So David, thank you so much for your presentation and sharing your knowledge with us. We really appreciate that.
Yeah. If anybody needs help, just get a hold of me through LowellAnn, or if some of you already have my information, just get a hold of me and I'll be more than happy to help.
Right on.
And
Thank you, David.
I'll charge you the same amount I charge my neighbors for shoveling their sidewalk. A plate of cookies. How's that sound?
Well, that's always doable. Except then you got to mail it, Alana. Okay. So I just want to close our session this morning with a reminder that it's important to do what you love with passion, and to know that next week we're going to talk about how to create CTAs. CTA equals call to action. So with that, I will close us down, and thank you very much, everyone, for your participation. And I want to do, oh,